Recognized for your questions.
I want to thank Chairman Peters and Ranking Member Portman for holding this hearing. Congratulate each of you for your nominations, and thank you for your willingness to serve. Mr. Hooks, thanks for the call we had. It's my understanding that certain states are asking to be reimbursed 100% and retroactively for their COVID-19 costs. Are you aware of this? Do you think states ought to be treated differently with regard to their COVID expenses? And do you think it's appropriate that the federal government take over and pay 100% of costs in disasters?
Sure. Thank you, Senator Scott, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you yesterday. As a state administrative agent coming from a state, it is certainly natural for every state to want to receive additional, compensation or receive 100% cost share. It has to be a balance. FEMA programs are designed to have some cost share element to them, and I understood that as a state representative, but also advocated for my state. And so I certainly understand there has to be a balance. Each catastrophe or disaster is unique. There have been certainly 100% reimbursement on some items that deal with COVID, and I do understand the need. But I do understand the need for FEMA to have consistency in its programs, but at the same time meet disaster survivors where they are. And so if confirmed, I look forward to working with you in your state and any other state that has those concerns about whether or not the 75% match, which is traditional, is being addressed appropriately by FEMA, and that those regulations are being interpreted. Look forward to knowing what headway Administrator Criswell has already made on this matter, because I know it has been of concern to you.
So do you think if states don't have any skin in the game, they're going to watch the money?
I believe, sir, that we all have a role to play, and that states, and in North Carolina, we certainly had skin in the game. And, it's also added with the complexity that a lot of local communities may not have the financial wherewithal as some other communities. And so I think that with honest conversation and with never making promises that you're certainly not able to keep and not authorized by legislation to keep, that we can effectively move forward and address those issues. But we have to encourage states that they have to have some skin in the game.
Over the last year, the disaster relief fund has been redistributed to fund areas not related to disaster emergency management. Do you think it's appropriate that they use FEMA disaster relief funds for non-disaster purposes? Do you think that's ever appropriate?
Thank you for the question, sir. I am not specifically familiar with the reference that you make there. However, I do believe that FEMA and any other organization has an obligation to expend funds as they are authorized and are permitted by law.
So I think we talked about what I watched in the debris pickup, how we had different, if a local agency or a local municipality had a contract that might be for $7 to $8.50 a cubic yard, and if the Corps of Engineers picked it up, it was same company, $72. Do you think that's ever appropriate?
Sir, I think that that each state and the federal government has to encourage the use of advanced contracts, particularly with debris pickup, so that you can have some consistency and a level set what the cost management of that should be. I think that goes a long way into people raising or upticking prices as well. And I think that there should always be internal controls and limitations on what should be charged for disaster recovery.
So we talked a little bit about the National Flood Insurance Program, and what's fascinating to me is that the federal government runs a program that is like my state. We're a 4-to-1 donor state since the program's been implemented. And without doing surveys, they raised the flood insurance cost on many of our citizens in the last 10 years. And they appear to be doing it again. And at the same time, they FEMA doesn't appear to be a partner to try to help us get more private flood insurance, which would help Floridians save money. So we're basically paying for flood insurance in other states. Do you think that's appropriate?
Senator, I certainly heard your concern yesterday, and that is certainly on my radar screen. Flood insurance in and of itself is a tremendous tool, a frontline tool to reduce the cost of individual recovery from disasters such as flooding. If confirmed, I look forward to working with you and your staff on any challenges that you see and whether or not the appropriate balance is being struck in the implementation of programs, and whether or not this is an issue of authorization or interpretation on anyone's part.
Do you think it's important that FEMA work with the private sector to allow the private sector to grow so FEMA doesn't have to have as big a program with regard to flood insurance?
Sir, I believe that we all have a role to play, both the private sector as well as government in disaster mitigation and recovery efforts. And so without being specific to the scenario that you laid out, I believe that great communication and great observance to what the congressional intent is for programs be adhered to move us forward.
How are you going to deal with political pressure from whoever, it doesn't matter which party does it, to tell you that, oh, in my state, you have to give us a bigger match than another state? How are you going to deal with political pressure in these? I mean, it's not a little bit of money. We're talking billions and billions of dollars.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. I am not uncaring or lack any empathy for the disaster that anyone faces. However, I took my first oath of office over 30-something years ago, and that oath bound me to follow the law as it has been given, and I will continue to do that in any program that is rolled out with congressional approval. And so I lean to my oath in those difficult times, and I understand the pressures and the advocacy from individuals concerning want to do what's best for their state or their community.
Thank you. Thanks, Chairman Peters.
Thank you, Senator Scott.
All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us here at Golden State Times. If you're new to the channel, we encourage you to subscribe by clicking that middle button. Also, check out our previous video by clicking the video on the right, or a video you might enjoy by clicking the video on the left. Also, don't forget to click the thumbs up button and share this video on social media. Peace.